Hey everyone, Roxabox90 here with some Theros speculation a la Mark Rosewater's State of Design 2013 article. So this is posted up tonight, Monday, August 22nd. So he goes over the overall year of Magic design, and he gave it a B plus in his opinion. And he goes over what he liked, which was that he loved how overall they hit the guilds out of the park, the block structure, how to interweaving the guilds among sets, and then he goes over things that he had problems with, such as certain guilds weren't as good as other guilds. We all know that. Gatecrash Limited was too fast. Dragon's Maze didn't balance out the 10 guilds, which we pretty much expected, and so on and so forth. And he goes about goals that he wants to do, yada yada yada. We're not looking for this sort of stuff, even though it's always interesting to read, and you guys can read it, linked in the description of the video. But the more important thing is the teasers from Theros. So they've been doing this for a while now, Wizards. They give us a whole bunch of cards, but the way they present the cards is often very misleading from what the card actually is. So you have here, he's only giving us partial information, which means that a card can sound insane here that isn't in fact because it has a huge drawback or it's different than how it's being described, etc. But it's always fun to speculate, so we're going to speculate on some Theros. So things we can expect from Theros, and all these things are true, but we're only seeing it from a certain angle. A 3/3 with 3 abilities that uses fate counters. Okay, no idea how that will work. I presume it would be, presuming that's the 3 abilities have, fate. I don't know how that would work. Fate counters. Okay. I have no idea how that would work, but that sounds interesting. Multiple cards with the word non-Gorgon, which makes sense because if you're having Gorgons as an actual, group, because you have cards like Medusa in the set, then that would be fine. And I'm sure we will actually see the word non-Gorgon at some point. So that's not that big a spoiler teaser thing. A high-profile cycle of legendary permanents that are not creatures or lands. So if anyone's been following my teasers, I'm pretty sure this refers to the gods, because the gods are going to probably be enchantment creatures or some variant like that. So it could mean the gods. It could be a cycle of artifacts. This is not creature or land, so like the Bident of Thassa, if you guys have seen that, then it could be a cycle. All the 5 gods each have their own one. That's probably the one I'm betting on here, not the gods, because the gods will probably be enchantment creatures, and it can't be creatures, but the legendary artifact enchantment is not a creature or a land. So that's my guess. A rare card with 5 words of rules text in which one of the words is Planeswalker. Okay, maybe that's something like search for a Planeswalker or destroy a Planeswalker. We could always use more cards in that vein of things, so that's my guess, something like that. An artifact creature that appears to be a big horse made out of wood. Ha 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 ha, Trojan horse, very funny. Okay, so it'll probably be Trojan horse resembling, presuming it's true. I don't know, it may be an actual like horse artifact, but that's probably flavor-wise resembling Trojan horse. A 5/5 giant snake that can be cast for 2. Okay, there's probably some huge drawback or something like that. So as I'm saying, there's got to be something going on here. A multicolored Minotaur Lord. Okay, there's not all the information, but that reads pretty straightforward to me. Minotaurs will probably be in the set, so having some sort of Lord. Alright. A card that could have been in Modern Masters. This could mean anything, to be quite frank. It could mean everything from, Thoughtseize to, I don't know. It could be, what other huge modern cards are there that weren't in Modern Masters? Well, Thoughtseize off the top of my head, I'm sure there are more. So, yeah, basically, just think about what you wanted in Modern Masters. Anything could be that. A giant that brings fire to humans. Okay, so isn't that Prometheus? Isn't he the guy who brought fire to humans and then was punished for it? He begins with a P. His name begins with a P. So maybe it's flavor-wise relating to that. Creature with a Saboteur ability. Saboteur meaning it has an effect if the creature deals combat damage to an opponent, which is one of the power 9. Creature with a Saboteur ability, one of the power 9. Okay, well, there's going to be some drawback to that, some difficulty, because Power 9 would be ridiculous. Not quite as ridiculous if it had to deal damage, and in fact, it would be kind of neat to see one of the Power 9 abilities on a creature. I'm leaning towards one of the, like a Mox ability, if it's not going to be a huge drawback, because you deal damage and you get a certain color or whatever. That would be interesting. Not super powerful, but interesting. And I'm sure this is just for fun, that Power 9. It could be. I don't think it's going to be overly ridiculous. Here are a few names of cards. So we have Anger of the Gods. That makes sense. Probably some Wrath effect. Chained to the Rocks. That's probably a pacifism-like effect. Lost in a Labyrinth. Again, it could be like a pacifism effect. It could be an Oblivion Ring style thing. These are just speculations, of course. Rescue from the Underworld. That would be probably some form of Reanimator, if it's something like that. Reanimation. Underworld Cerberus. Could very well be Cerberus, or some variation of Cerberus. Witch's Eye, no idea. That could be anything. And then some creature types, or some of the creatures. So Catoblepas, I don't no idea what those are. Chimera, which are, multiple animals in one creature. Cyclops, we've seen Harpies, we've seen Hippocamp, we've seen Hundred-Handed one. That just sounds cool, to be quite frank. Hundred-Handed, it's awesome. Krakens. Nymphs, we've already gone over those. Pegasus, again, more Greek-Roman. Satyrs, Sirens, and Tritons. Tritons we already saw art for. So we'll probably be seeing a bunch of spoilers come PAX time, which is, I think it's Saturday. So stay tuned. I'll be posting actual spoilers, hopefully, from PAX, or any information I find from PAX. Otherwise, let me know your speculations on these cards, and I'll put the link below in the description as well. Find my channel sponsors in the description as well. And as always, Rox the Box 90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.